dokie.
Hey there. Welcome again to another week of Don't Get Me Started. I'm still getting used to saying that.
I like it.
I do too. I think it's catchy.
I think it works fine.
I've got my fancy new hoodie. And my fancy not functional left hand. I crashed out skiing this weekend and been skiing for a long time, and I can count on my one hand the number of serious injuries I've had. And this is probably the most serious injury. And it was my hand. It was my knee. It wasn't anything else. So can't really move my pinky right now. I think I may have screwed something up. Gonna go see an orthopedist next week.
I would just like to point out that I didn't crash while I was skiing.
No, you did very well. You did very well.
I also was probably skiing at a much slower pace than you were.
Yeah, I wasn't actually going that fast when I crashed out. It was really, really stupid. So, yeah, but I've got and now like I'm color coordinated with my hoodie. So,
Oh, is that why you wore it?
Yeah. It would blend in. You couldn't tell.
To hide, to camouflage the bandage, as it were.
Yeah.
This is fair.
So, at Turngate, we want anyone to be able to do security investigations, which is pretty nerdy, but it's our spirit animal is, well,
Our spirit animal.
Our spirit is Gusteau from
Ratatouille.
Yeah, because he's not an animal, but he is dead, so he's a spirit. He's a spirit.
We're so cheery today.
We
should keep going.
Very much a part of the movie. You know, he was a dead dude that kept things moving forward. So anyway,
you're doing great.
Thank you.
And you're kind of missed the whole punchline to that. I mean, you almost got there with it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
What was the punchline?
I mean, you sort of approached the anyone can thing, but you didn't get that.
Oh, yeah, anyone can cook. Well, I just assume people...
Like everybody knows?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I talk to people a lot about the tie between the company and the motto of Gusteau, of anyone can cook. And I always preface like, hey, have you seen Ratatouille? And I just presume everybody on the planet has seen it. And the other day, I actually ran into someone who hadn't. And I didn't even know how to proceed. I'm like, there's a production company called Pixar. And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay. And then there was Once Upon a Time a movie involving a rat that would pull on this dude's hair and cause him to cook. And then that's when it got skeptical. I'm like, never mind. This is not an important part of the story.
Do you remember, not this year, but last year, we were coincidentally out to dinner on Valentine's Day. And I quoted Princess Bride to our waiter.
Oh, yeah.
Who had no idea what Princess Bride was.
No clue. Not a concept. Although amusingly, we were going to go see
Mandy
Patinkin at the Strathmore on Valentine's Day, and that's probably why that was top of mind, because Mandy Patinkin was in Princess Bride.
Yes.
And the wait staff was just like, cool story. Like, there was absolutely...
He was quite young.
Yeah, he was quite young, yeah.
And delightful. But I just made him promise that he should go watch the movie.
Yeah.
Hopefully he did.
Yeah.
Hopefully he did. Yeah, Mandy Patinkin was a delightful show with him and his wife, who had become quite... not that they weren't famous already, but they became even more internet famous during lockdown.
Yeah.
Because they were posting all the time. And this show was really just a conversation between him and his wife, and it was... moderated by their son. So it was basically everything that I wanted us to be when we grew up.
I was going to say, we could just do that here. We could charge people to watch this and just have a kid moderate it and just pretend we're like internet famous.
It was absolutely delightful. Yeah. It was so cool.
Cool.
It was so cool. But anyway.
All right. I guess we'll start with the news of the week. It's been an interesting week.
It has been an interesting week.
So
pretty tremendous. I guess we're here, right?
Correct. The biggest news in the industry, for sure, I think, was Google buying Wiz for
a lot of money,
$32 billion,
which was like a flip flop of the offer they turned down last year. I think they were offered 23.
Yeah, they were offered 23, and then it was turned down. They thought regulatory reasons they would kind of squash it or whatever. And then it turns out, screw it. And they just went for it, and $32 billion. So the CFO, amusingly, has only been there for 8 months. So that dude, gold star, pulling that off. And I will say, Wiz really kind of got after it when it came to sales, and I really, kind of respected their hustle. So at my last job, which is about 300 people plus or minus, we were doing a shootout between Wiz and Prisma and Orca, and somehow word got to Shardul Shah, who was the investor from Index that invested in Wiz, and I'd known Shardul from my days at Expel. And he calls me on my cell phone, and he's like, "Hey, you want to talk to the founders of Wiz and see what they can do to help you move this deal along?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know if they misplaced a zero, but there's only 300 of us. Like, we're not a big company and not a big contract." Like, that's okay. They'd still love to talk to you. And so I spent like an hour talking with one of the Wiz founders and chatting, and they won the shootout anyway. And gee whiz.
That's funny.
I do actually think that would be a proper bit of branding that if it isn't external, I imagine somebody internal to Wiz will have done that at some point already. But
Well, they will now, and I want my cut.
yes.
No, I don't want the cut. You should have the cut, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, you should get some royalties for that. Well, because they do have like other even their
G Suite,
Yeah.
G whatever, right?
Yeah,
So G
obviously.
Whiz is, maybe that's why they went after the company in the first place.
Could be.
It could be entirely why they wanted
G
it.
Orca did not have the same,
Just did not, right?
not ring the same
Um,
bell. But yeah, I guess everyone's wondering what's going to happen now. Like, will it still be a viable going entity? Will Google kill it in some fashion? But they haven't.
Well, then where would we shop at all the shows we go to?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, when you go to all these different trade shows, Wiz tends to set up this like huge interactive shopping. Well, they'll probably do something different this year. I have no
would
idea,
assume
but
so.
it's been like a huge, almost like going to like a
It's like a grocery store.
grocery store. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's,
But you were buying fake products.
and scanning them, and it was kind. I think we didn't do it because like the line was long, whatever. But it was like almost like a game, like an interactive game or something. I don't want to misspeak on behalf of Wiz, so go Google it. The pictures are amazing.
Yeah,
but it was a lot.
It was the same one at RSA and Black Hat last year.
Yeah. It was definitely impressive.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it was impressive, but like as we describe it, neither of us are like, yeah, I have no idea what was actually happening.
Yeah, it was definitely like scanning the barcodes, I think, on the products, and then something would happen. But we actually weren't able to participate in it, but it was impressive to look at.
Sure.
For sure.
For sure. With $32 billion, they'll be able to do a lot of that stuff.
Oh.
So yeah. So anyway, we'll see. I guess Google bought Mandiant a bit ago, and that's survived as a brand pretty well. Actually, I think the reviews I've seen, and Mandiant's been doing okay under the Google umbrella. So we'll see. Hopefully, Wiz thrives at Google. Wish them all the best, and hopefully it goes well.
I think the interesting, and I was showing this to you right before we started the show, but the interesting kind of adjacent chatter to this though is that we're not seeing companies go to IPO.
No. No, Wiz. The cybersecurity and tech IPO market in general has just been flat, and everybody kind of thought after Wiz and Google didn't do the deal last year that the next step was going to be IPO, and they brought on this new CFO, and so I think everybody kind of thought this was going to be the thing, and then was it Monday? There was rumors of like, hey, there's going to be a deal, and then Tuesday this blog post went up, and we're like, oh, I guess it's real, right? It's just like bang bang, and it was done. They still got to get through regulatory approval and stuff, but presumably they'll make it. And
I think interestingly enough, doesn't Wiz have like a big, like their own Wiz conference or something coming up, like either nowish or the end of this week or something? Yeah, so that could be fun.
Yeah, the Wiz CISO conference is happening like today, which I'm sure
is full of information, or maybe not.
Yeah, and frivolity, like the give a shit level there for the Wiz staff might be quite low. They're just going to be having a grand old time. So. Boy, to be at that one.
Yeah, could be fun.
Yeah,
could be fun. Anyway,
cool. The other news of the week, which you may not have seen, but we use Rippling as our HRIS, and pros and cons of.
Would you like to define that for folks who may not know what that means?
What an HRIS is?
Yeah, I know what it means because boy, do I know what that means.
Home run information system.
Something like that.
Yeah, human resources information system.
Resources, so, yes.
Where you manage payroll and who works for you and all the onboarding, offboarding, and all that kind of stuff. And so they're they're kind of, I don't know, third generation of hosted HR providers. There was Paychex and and then others, and then Rippling's kind of the newest one. And so like when we onboarded, it was just like click, click, bang, we're a customer, and then we started provisioning people, and I mean, point and click HR system.
Mostly works. Yeah.
They try to be a little bit of everything, and I don't want to get into a product analysis of them. But what was interesting this week is they filed a lawsuit against their competitor Deal, and the nature of the lawsuit is that Deal had a spy working on the inside of Rippling to keep tabs on Deal customers who might defect to Rippling, and so the way that they kind of, I guess they had an inkling that something was up. There were too many like coincidences, and so they sent a message to, I think, the general counsel, the CFO, and like the father of the founder or something is what they said. It was a weird collection, and they referenced in it an empty Slack channel called D-Defectors. And so the D-Defectors were going to be, it was basically supposed to be a Slack channel filled with information about Deal customers who are going to defect to Rippling. And then they watched.
It's like a whole spiraling conspiracy thing within their own system.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. So they created this empty channel.
D-Defectors, yeah.
D-Defectors, yeah. Create this empty channel, and then they monitor Slack to see if anyone searches for that channel.
It was only sent to 3 people.
Yeah, it was sent to, that's what I'm saying. It was 3 people in Deal. The only people that got it outside of Rippling were these 3 senior people at Deal. And a short while after they received the message, then an internal employee at Rippling started searching for that channel and looking for content associated with it. So they knew the only people outside the company who knew anything about that channel were those 3 folks. And so to them, that's the circle that got connected. And that's when they knew they had a spy on the inside.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Gold star for ferreting it out. Like, I think it was really interesting to see how they were able to do it. And now they've got a pretty, I imagine, pretty good bit of evidence on this lawsuit, and Deal's in a pretty bad.
It's kind of
bad spot.
It's kind of like a I probably would have been pretty giddy if I'd set a trap and it actually caught somebody.
Oh
that
yeah,
way.
like
can only imagine, like, be like, oh my gosh, right?
Well, it's like, I mean, anytime you do a pen test and somebody hits the phishing page that you set up or whatever, it was always a victory. Years ago, I did a pen test for a customer, and they had a SSL VPN, and the users would go to it. So it was like, ssl.company.com or whatever it was, and the people would go and authenticate to the VPN. And so we bought the domain ssl-company.com or something like that. It was some typo. And then we're going to do a phishing email against their customers to get the credentials from them. And according to the rules of engagement we had with the customer, we had to get approval for the phishing email before we sent it. And so the night before, we've got like the landing page set up, and we got all the different mechanics to do all the harvesting, right, and then replay and log in immediately and pop this enterprise. And it was all ready to go, and everything was like a mousetrap. Everything was all set up and waiting to be sprung. And all we had to do was get approval on this email to get sent out. And as the one guy that's working with me who's finishing the email, I'm checking the logs, and all of a sudden I'm getting hits. And I was like, dude, we can't send that email until we get approval. What are you doing? We got all these people. We already got these credentials. All this stuff's happening. He's like, I literally haven't sent it. And it turns out people were typoing. It was a big enough organization that people typoed the domain enough times on the regular that they just came to our trap without us having to do anything. And so the next day we're like, hey, we want to approval to fish people. Also, we already fished them.
Did it anyway.
Yeah, and here's the results of that. Like, we popped your entire enterprise last night by mistake. Oops, sorry. And that was
also that. You might want to own this domain.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, and here, this domain is now yours. So it was definitely one of those moments where you realize like it was a little too effective, but it was still pretty cool to see. So
yeah. We've talked about that before, actually, like the adjacencies that exist there and why you want to own those, right?
Yeah, but there's limits to how many.
Well, I mean, certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. But, I mean, we have little names for our company as well, right? So,
Yeah, I actually saw a conversation in a Slack the other day, and it was basically like, you're better off monitoring for the creation of that stuff than trying to buy it all, because you can spend a ton of money buying and whatever, and just pay somebody to look for people doing that work. And so I'm like, yeah, at some point we'll be big enough that people will care, and we'll do that. But
yeah,
not today. Not today.
Eventually.
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 So next up, it will be Heidi's random fact of the day.
I mean, I reach far and deep for these, right? But I have a question for you first, because today we kind of dialed in just a little bit today, and we're doing a little bit of a get to know you, and we're talking. We're gonna throw either or questions. Well, maybe not either or, this or that questions at each other today, right?
Yes.
So my first question for you is Twix or Kit Kat?
Oh, to me?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. So I think I would generally go toward Kit Kat.
You would go towards Kit Kat. Well,
Okay.
I'm glad you said that, because that's actually, the origin of my random fact of the day. What's inside a Kit Kat? We know it has a nice chocolatey outside shell, right?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. There's the wafers and there's the chocolate, and then there's some other indeterminate thing that's not like caramel in a Twix. Like a Twix, you can tell. Like, you break it open. And like,
Yeah, it's got like the
the caramel bits. I actually don't know what is inside
So
a
Kit
Kit
Kats
Kat.
are like really meta, as it turns out. So they have this is quoted. They have the choco layer is what's inside of a Kit Kat, right? And it's made out of cocoa liquor, sugar, and then a small amount of, quote, reworked Kit Kat bars. So damaged Kit Kat bars off the lines are then crumbled up and put inside other Kit Kats.
So this begs a question of what was the first Kit Kat bar ever made out of?
Yeah.
If they
So,
didn't
I mean,
have
maybe they
damaged ones
took perfect Kit Kat bars and crumpled them up and put them in the new Kit Kat bars. I really don't know.
It's like
I
a
mean,
sourdough
it doesn't
starter.
work. It's like chicken and egg,
Yeah.
right? So yes. So this is, I don't know. And that is exactly the thought I had when I read this random fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could have been passing around Kit Kat starters instead of sourdough starters during COVID, right? Like, just here's a jar of my grandmother's Kit Kat starter.
I don't think they actually like grow. And there's, like
I
don't
bet you get something to grow.
Well, yes, but do I feed my Kit Kat starter more Kit Kat? I mean, what? Not sure. I'm not sure how that works.
Every 3 days, you stir in more Kit Kat.
Yeah,
and
right.
it bubbles up. Yeah, I like this. This is something that AI video could make for us. Is like, grandma's Kit Kat factory with a Kit Kat starter thing. Like, there's a prompt in there that gets us like a really disturbing.
Let's just stop right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So as Heidi pointed out, we're doing, and in my description for this, I did say either or, but you think these are this or that question.
I think I actually wrote the either or, but that's okay. You can take credit for my bad
Well, no,
grammar.
I recall because everything I type hurts right now. So I type.
You got that from my initial bad description.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, positive.
Oh, I just sat here and jammed it out because I was screaming at Restream because I screwed up and I inadvertently scheduled this stream in my own personal YouTube, not in the Turngate YouTube, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't figuring it out in Restream. So I had to type it like 4 times.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway.
I mean, we think the same a lot at the time. So we just both had the wrong idea.
So
I think it's this or that, either or. They probably both work, right?
Binary. And we should offer up to the audience that if they have either or this or that style questions, we'd be happy to field them. Not to open up Pandora's box, but let's see what's inside. All right, so you have these listed questions. I do not. I have a few questions, but you have like.
I thought you came up with some too.
I have some.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, light mode or dark mode?
So I've heard a lot of people throw shade if you're not using dark mode. Like, it's like.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I think the reality is, like, I'm old enough that I prefer light mode. Even though my iPad runs around in dark mode, I don't really run anything else in dark mode. But that's just me. I think it's a trend. I think we'll trend out of dark mode.
So I tend to run in light mode, but everybody says dark mode's better on your eyes, and every time I try it, I don't believe that to be true.
Is that a real thing?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, if you look at a computer screen all day, is it bad for your eyes?
Well, I would argue yes.
How? What changes? Like, what physiological change occurs in your eyes because you started a computer screen versus a book versus...
So bad for my eyes? I don't know. Do my eyes feel tired at the end of the day? Absolutely, they do.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always wondered the physiological impact of looking at a screen versus
I'm
like if I'm
almost positive there have been studies on this.
Yeah, but I've done things that are far more dangerous for my eyes than looking at that. Like,
You stared at the sun? You've stared at the sun, haven't you?
Yeah. Also operate a lot of power equipment without safety goggles, which I shouldn't have done.
That's different than looking at something.
It is, but that can have direct physiological impact on your eye.
I still argue that having something fly into your eye and inserting itself into your eye is different than staring at something all day.
Yeah, my monitor has not done that ever. It hasn't even threatened to do that, really.
No,
No.
no, that's like smell-o-vision or something. That's like, next generation monitors.
It's a really big microphone. I can't see my
Yeah, I'm working on it.
yeah. All right, so I guess I'll ask a question.
Oh Lord, I'm scared.
No, these are pretty tame. Simpsons or Bob's Burgers?
Oh. Early Simpsons, later Bob's Burgers.
I think that's a reasonable answer. Although Simpsons, I think, has come back into itself the last season or two.
So I've only seen maybe an episode or two of
Yeah.
later Simpsons, so maybe, but Simpsons kind of lost me around season 16 or something.
Yeah. And Bob's Burger. Well, and honestly, the latest season of Bob's Burgers has been pretty deep. I think that there's the Rudy episode that is just all about Rudy, and it's not funny. It's not comedic, and I don't mean it's like I expect every episode to be funny, but it's like a serious treatment of like a child living with divorced parents and the struggles that he's gone through and stuff. And it's a quite an interesting piece of animation. And makes you think. And I have a lot of appreciation for the later seasons of Bob Burgers that really make you think. So I think I would agree with your answer. We don't have any either ors from the audience, so I guess we can pong it back to you.
Okay. Well, PC gaming or console gaming?
So I like to think.
This is where you tell nasty stories about me, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
They weren't nasty stories. They're just stories of my early gaming days.
I fancy myself a gamer, and the reality is I haven't played like a non-iPad, non-Switch game in forever. And even Switch games I usually only play when I'm on an airplane. So I guess if that's the case, it's console. I still would love to like build a gaming rig and blah 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 blah. But the reality is I just haven't had time to do it. You've done more console gaming recently,
but I would argue, given my druthers, I'd still be a PC gamer.
I think so.
But I'd say as of late, I'm an iPad gamer. Does that count? Is that even a thing? But that's where I play most of my games.
Yeah. I think so. I think the last big console game you played, you were sick, and the whole family set you up with Diablo on the PS5, and you sat in bed and played Diablo until you were better. And then maybe a few days longer.
I really was sick. I wasn't pretending to be sick so I could play Diablo.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one answer to that. Mountain biking or road biking? Well, there's actually we actually fall in the middle.
I'd say right in the middle. Yeah. Gravel
biking. Yeah.
I think that's gravel biking's great because it's relatively unlikely you're going to get run over by a car. And you're also relatively unlikely to break a major body part.
Yeah, rail trail all the way.
Yeah. Mountain biking is, it's also, I've done a lot of it and have at least a couple really good injuries. A number of years ago, I was doing a contract up in Connecticut, and we had a client up there, and I'd go up there regularly enough that I'd bring my bike. And I was riding in the woods after work one day, and I was riding along a ridge line. Went to make a jump from one part of the ridge line to the other. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, boy, if I miss this, I'm screwed. And I totally missed it. And I fell down and complete somersault twice with a bike and ended up in a stream. And this was kind of at the start of the revolution of bike safety equipment. So I actually had an impact sensor on my helmet.
Well, you still do. I mean,
I still do. And there's other things there's enough devices on my body that will alert if I crash now. But this was it was a ice puck or something. I forget what it was called. And it basically starts a 60-second timer for when it detects an impact to call your emergency contact and basically let someone know what the body is. And so I've been injured enough to know that the first instinct of I'm fine is probably not correct. So I took 59 seconds to assess, and I was bleeding. And my helmet took a big shot, and it was cracked, but I was otherwise I was conscious. I hadn't lost consciousness. And so I killed the timer, and so it wouldn't call Heidi and freak her out. And instead, I called a person who worked with us, Matt, who was an EMT, and gave him my vitals and said, "Hey, Matt, like I just crashed, and here's how I feel, and here's what's going on." And after a short discussion, Matt said, "I think you're fine." And so I went on and finished my ride. So that was
Eventually, he called me.
eventually, and then I told Heidi about it later on. So yeah,
So I always find out later, sometimes years later.
that was just poison control.
All right. Yeah. It was poison control. Do you, we'll tell that story later. Do you have another question for me?
I do. Landscape or portrait?
I prefer landscape, and I know on your phone you're supposed to shoot in portrait. At least that was conventional wisdom for a while. Maybe that's changed, but I always turn my phone.
Yeah, I do too. And then people yell at me because that's not what people do anymore. But you know, monitors are widescreen and everything.
Well, I mean, for me, it's a lot of times I'm taking pictures for my own personal use.
Yeah.
So that's why. But I know if you're filming because of like the media or where you're posting those, like portrait's supposed to be better.
You know what the best quote aspect for LinkedIn videos is?
The one you use in post?
Yeah.
No,
What?
I mean it's the one that gets used. I don't know. That's
It's
all I was saying.
oh, okay. It's literally 1-to-1. So
Oh wow! So it's a square.
it's a square. So they're one of the few platforms that has just kind of said, whatever, we're not going to take anybody's default
They
video.
chop it.
They chop it,
So-
and they'll chop it one way or the other. So it's by
So
default 1-to-1.
You have to. Do you have to check that? I haven't played with that.
You can specify like I did this in 4:3 or 16:9 or whatever, and it will then box it. But to get the most fill on a LinkedIn,
Interesting. I kind of like
feed
that actually.
is 1-to-1. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
You ready?
Yeah.
Mechanical or chiclet keyboard?
Oh, well, if I'm all by my lonesome, I like mechanical keyboards, but I think that history has shown in this house it's a recipe to get yelled at to be quiet. So chiclet keyboards are more socially acceptable than mechanical keyboards, I think. So years ago, we used to have a lot more people living in this house, and my office was on like the landing at the top of the stairs here.
It's largish. It's
not like I was like
large, but
huddled. This wasn't like a Dickinson kind of, where I was like cut in a corner.
It's almost like that.
But
It's
it was-
only like twice the size of that.
Yeah.
But
Dickensian was the word.
Dickensian,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dickinson. Christ. Anyway, Dickensian. Anyway, so I was up there working, and I decided I was going to buy a mechanical keyboard. So I ordered a mechanical keyboard, and it
he's
shows
very
up,
excited.
and I plug it in, and I'm like, yay! And I'm typing, and Heidi's office was in the living room, which was just down the stairs,
Directly below.
directly below. And I maybe got 90 seconds of typing in, and she's like, "What the hell is that noise?" And I was like, "Ah, damn it!" And that was the end of that mechanical keyboard. Nothing. Unplugged it. It was loud. I mean, it was really loud. And so I now actually have one mechanical keyboard that's got the quiet caps, the quiet keys and everything. So it works out a lot better. Anyway, my turn now, I guess. Maybe?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. PowerPoint or slides?
Oh, PowerPoint all the way. I hate slides.
You're old school.
Oh yeah, but well, we all know that I will also break out that other thing from time to time.
Oh, Keynote?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my days with Keynote are done though.
Probably. That was just a weird ShmooCon legacy thing. I don't think besides ShmooCon you've opened Keynote for anything.
Oh, only for that. Just because I was using the same slides for 19 years in a row. So slides are nice for collaboration because they're inside.
Yeah.
They're where they are. But I actually hate them for editing. For the tool space is just not the same for me. I don't like it.
No, I find it very difficult to do kind of more advanced things. Although I will say, like, even the difference between PowerPoint for PC and Mac is still real. Like, and there's still times like you can't do a thing in Mac that you can do on a PC. And I haven't used PC not in any meaningful way in years, but there are times even then, like I go and Google, like, how do I do this in PowerPoint? And it's like, oh, you can only do it on Windows. Well, screw that. So, yeah, but I think I'm more towards slides now. I think I've given up on PowerPoint. overhead projector transparencies. Yeah, we could just go totally old school and do that. I actually would love somebody to give like a conference
Or
presentation on that, and even like the old rolly kind where you'd roll the transparency film over the top of the projector.
oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and then the teacher could roll it backwards and be
And
like,
then they would do the, uh, you know,
yeah, I'm going to erase this with my spit. Yeah,
so gross.
yeah,
So gross. On the Rolly one, I didn't care if they did it on their own sheets, but on the Rolly one,
yeah,
yeah.
man. That's old school. And like kids these days, like I don't know what the hell any of
That's
that
like, you
means.
know, the bathrooms used to have the Rolly paper. They weren't paper towels, but the Rolly towels. Like, did you ever trust those? I never trusted
Yeah,
those.
no.
Like that was not good.
We used to have an Elmo.
We still have an Elmo. It's in storage.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so Elmo, I think Elmo's a trade name for basically an overhead projector camera. So, you know, instead of a transparency where it shoots up and then out a lens, it's a camera up top of the light, and then you can put paper down and write and everything. And it's a little antiquated at this point because there's lots of ways to make that happen. But it was
Basically any camera these
yeah,
days.
any camera, yeah. But it was kind of a neat little device to be able to, like, if you really wanted just to write and have people see what you're writing, it worked pretty well. But yeah, we haven't used that thing in eternity. And now with the Insta360 link,
Well, I can show you any angle in my office.
yeah, it's these are what we use for the video conferencing cameras that we use are on a gimbal, and they have like an overhead projector mode, but they don't have to be over the top. They're at an angle and they tilt down and they do automatic keystone correction so that it looks like everything's all square and everything. So they don't.
Yeah, but if
it's
you
really
inadvertently
cool.
reset them, they will take everybody watching on a journey of your whole a 360 journey of
Yeah,
your whole
yeah.
office.
They definitely they'll develop a mind of their own and suddenly just show you everything, or show the people on the other side everything in your office, which can be a little awkward. So
Okay.
all right, now it's your turn. Yeah, I did PowerPoint or slides.
All right.
That's how we ended up on that journey.
Right. So this one actually comes from our socials channel at work. NES or SNES or Sega Genesis.
Oh, I was not a Sega person.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
We used to skip class to play Super Mario Kart. Do you remember?
Oh, in college.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, we don't go to class now.
No, well, I didn't know. Like, I was like, I didn't go to high school
We're
with
skipping
you.
out on work to.
To be clear, I never owned an NES as a kid. My friends did, but my folks did not believe in entertainment. So
Well, they believed in jazz records
and hockey.
And Bruce, go touch the antenna so I can watch tennis. Yeah.
Hockey.
And hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Football.
by touch the antenna, what she means is this is an old either KU band or C band satellite dish. And we used to get a big thing in the mail each week that was all the different satellites and all the programming that'd be, because there were 24 channels on each satellite. And it was everything that was on every satellite. And my mom would get it so she could watch the hockey games because she was a big hockey fan. And normally, you would just tell the satellite receiver, like, go to this satellite and then go to this channel, and it would move the satellite dish, and then you would watch whatever's on that channel. Well, when we got our satellite dish installed, my parents didn't want to pay for the motor that would turn it automatically. So there was.
Well, they had 6 children.
Yeah, well, all of them were gone except for me. They installed that when I was the only kid left in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is just for me. And so there was like a big ruler thing and a hand crank and a little needle that would tell you what the declination of the satellite was. And so I would have to go out and, like, at 131.5 was this satellite, turn it. And it was way up in the hill behind my house. My mom would open up the window from the family room and be like, little farther, oh, too far. Okay, perfect. And then shut the window. Now, keep in mind, hockey's played in the winter. So I'm out there in the freaking field adjusting the satellite dish every time she wants to watch a new hockey game. And it's every night between the first and second game. And I'm out there all the time adjusting this damn dish. And so that goes on for years. And then I go away to college. And I come back my first semester, and lo and behold, there's a motor on the goddamn satellite dish. And I'm like, what the hell? They're like, oh yeah, they told us it was the only satellite dish they've ever installed that didn't have a motor. I'm like, no kidding. They're like, well, we had a child. We didn't see why we needed the motor. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, my kids have it easy by comparison. Go change the internet over to this other IP address. I want to go to 10.2. Anyway.
Is that how it works?
I don't know. I was a network engineer for a while, but it was all kind of dark magic. So, all right. I forget where we're at.
You.
Okay. 1Password or passwords?
You did this on purpose, didn't you?
You told me to come up with the questions.
Oh my lord. I like passwords.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. 1Password is nice for shared vaults,
Yes. Yeah.
but I prefer passwords. And why do I prefer passwords? I use Mac everything.
Yeah.
That's why. And it's just there, and
Yeah.
it works, and I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
That's it. That's the only reason.
The really exciting thing is when she's on a computer that has Chrome and then 1Password and passwords, and all three of them have saved a password for wherever the hell she is, and 3 windows all pop up on top of each other.
Well, and then you can't read. I mean, and yeah.
Oh my God, what an awful bit of user experience that is.
Yeah,
like
I have
it's one of
issues.
those areas where like amusingly on the phone does a really good job.
The phone. There, I have 0 conflicts on the phone. Actually,
The phone will be like, oh, where do you want me to pull this credential from? And it gives you this clean list. And it's like, here's all the credential stores I know about. Which one you want? Click, click, click. On browsers, it's just like, no, my window. And they all fight. And it's unbelievable how bad it is.
yeah. I was logging into something the other day, and I was having to guess which one I was selecting because I couldn't clear the screen on top of it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, maybe this one will work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think I would probably have a lesser opinion, better opinion. I don't even know where to go with that. If they just didn't compete with each other like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If I could just pick which one I wanted to use.
Yeah.
In any given circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I get it. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have both, but I do because somebody made me use another one.
I don't know who that could have been. Anyway, your turn.
Let's see. Early adopter or wait and see?
Generally wait and see. So when I was deploying network gear, you always deploy the slightly older stuff that somebody else got damaged from, and you got the benefit from their patches. I think a lot of technology really works that way. Don't get V1, get V2. And yeah, I think that's kind of where my head's at. It's pretty rare that I lean hard into early adopter stuff. I think I've been burned on. Remember we got one of the early days audio streaming devices, maybe from Linksys or something. And it like the idea of streaming audio to anywhere in your house via some device was such a wonderful idea. And that thing sucked so bad. And now we have audio streaming everywhere through all kinds of different things, and it's all fine. But I remember like that was one of the most disappointing pieces of technology I'd ever bought. So. About you?
I hate change. I mean that tends to be true, with probably one small exception. I'm not going to say the name, but it has to do with a vehicle that we no longer own for reasons. I was pretty excited about it originally, and I was in the wait and see camp for it until I watched a video, and I woke Bruce up at 4:00 in the morning saying I want this, and so we bought it.
We still got an early one, and it was still what you would expect from an early version.
It really
car.
was.
Yeah.
And then I got rid of it for reasons. But it had issues.
Many.
Right. And that's kind of the whole reason I don't play that game. Also, I hate change.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're definitely when Heidi has to update a version of the operating system, I have to steel myself for the where the hell did this thing go and other things. So she definitely like even the switch from keychain access to passwords as like the way to interact with the Mac.
Oh, I can
password
find my
store.
passwords for like a whole week.
Yeah.
And I mean that's on me. I get it, but
yeah.
I'm really bad at that. We have a question.
All right. We have a question from the audience. Formal education or DIY for learning about cybersecurity?
Well, it's both now anymore. It's getting better.
Well, so
it's getting better.
I guess, I mean, there's a couple issues afoot right now. I think there's a general trend to like, there are very, very, very few entry-level cybersecurity positions right now. Entry level in cyber is like 3 or 4 years of experience. And where do you get that experience? Who the hell knows, right? And so I was actually...
Well, it's comical really seeing those descriptions, right?
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get fresh out of college, or what used to be even like if you got a Security Plus and you were marketable, right? Like there were opportunities for people with Security Plus, and I think those days are over. I was talking with somebody the other day who was advising a nonprofit that was creating like a cybersecurity education program, and my sense is like it's got to be applied, as much as we want to cover the foundational stuff, like knowing how to use products is the thing that's in demand, right? Like when you look at these job descriptions, it's, they're not saying like, oh, you need to know these foundational cybersecurity things. It's like, you have to have been a proof point administrator, or you have to have administered CrowdStrike, or you have to have, hands-on experience with these forensics tools or whatever. And that's, I think, where the real discrimination is happening, where they want people who have tool experience.
Well, and so I was going to say this is all anecdotal, but and we haven't hired against this space for a little while now, right?
Correct.
But anecdotally, I will say that we see more success coming out of programs, formal education programs that have required internship
Yes.
programs. So schools like RIT, and what's the other? There's another one that RIT has a very strong internship requirement, but there's others that have at least one
Yeah.
internship requirement,
Yeah.
so that they get some of that experience. And again, this is sort of anecdotal, but it's just what we hear when we
No,
talk to
yeah,
folks.
no, I think, I see more success with people who have direct experience in line with the job that they're trying to get, and fewer employers willing to deviate from that in cybersecurity. So the answer may be either both or neither, depending on how you look at it. Cool.
Cool.
All right.
I can't remember who we're on.
I think we're on you.
Oh, well, I'm going to take another one from our employee channel. And this one still comes from Peter. And I'm curious because this one's making me laugh. Fight off a hacker in real life or in cyberspace?
Um,
And I have no idea how to answer this one, but I think it's comical.
wow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually, I think I'm probably incompetent in both areas. Certainly after last week and busting up my hand, I would,
Oh, I have two bad shoulders.
I
I'm
would
not
lose a
fighting
fist
anybody.
fight. And that said, I know far more uncoordinated hackers than coordinated hackers. There's a few exceptions to that rule.
Oh, there are definitely some exceptions.
But I often think back of like the early days of ShmooCon and arming everybody with shmoo balls when they actually threw it, and when you would say something on stage that people disagreed with, how few shmoo balls found their target or were even close. There were people that got beamed in the back of the head by people behind them. It was like, I mean, it was just like a Ben Stiller movie, just kaboof. You're like, what the? Oh my gosh. So judging on that, if I were to take the coordination to throw a stress ball as a surrogate for how well you throw a punch, I think I'd rather take a hacker on in real life.
Well, okay.
I mean, I want to do either, but if my hand is forced, no battle of online, capability
Is this
or
saying
physical.
anything about your skill set? That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
What?
You're like my physical, prowess is greater than my hacker eliteness.
I swore at Restream for an hour today because I was logged into the wrong account. I think I've my credibility of online attack has gone way down.
Maybe we should get you some of that formal education.
Jeez, yeah. I'm just gonna say, like, if that's where things are at for me right now, like I'm oh man, I get the shit kicked out of me in an online
It's
fight.
all good. I just thought it was funny. I did exactly what I wanted it to do. Your turn.
Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
Ooh.
As far as questions that have no real answer, but more philosophical.
I'll tell you that Bluetooth tends to be more successful for me.
You have less problems.
Less problems.
Yeah, fewer battles fought.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that I have a preference per se. I'm sure there's technical things in the background that I should care about. I don't know that I do for the most part in my ecosystem.
Yeah. I think it's a fair, like, I mean,
inside my house, I Bluetooth, I suppose, for my headphones, but otherwise it's Wi-Fi, everything else. But
yeah, I think we've had an issue of being in older homes, which tend to eat Wi-Fi, which make our Wi-Fi experiences kind of exotic. And so we're all Unify, Ubiquity here. And when COVID hit and all the kids came in and we were all working in the house and doing schoolwork and stuff, this house it's plaster lath and it's old and there's obviously no cable in the wall, nothing like that. And I used to pull cable for a living when I was up in Alaska. And I looked at this house. I'm like, screw that noise. I'm definitely not pulling cable here. So we had one access point downstairs, and then everything else was bridged off of it. And it was, I mean, this is 5 years ago. So, we didn't have Wi-Fi 6 or whatever, but it was like serviceable for lightweight work. But when the whole house was on
There
Zoom,
were 8 of us,
Yeah.
9 of us at some point.
oh my God, it became unserviceable. And one day, I snapped in the middle of the day, like the kids are in class and I just got done with the meeting, and I realized that in the walls here we have somebody installed in-wall vac.
Yeah, it was totally
70s, whatever.
70s ancient, whatever.
We don't use it, but it turns out it's just conduit. So I threw a kid up in the attic and one in the basement and yelled some instructions, and we grabbed some.
Turn the antenna.
Yeah, exactly. Turn the antenna, kids, and we cut some holes in it to access it, and then we had pop boxes of stuff from Shmoocon Labs of Cat 6, and we just ran cable. And within 2 hours, we had half a dozen runs put in, and we wired up like 5 or 6 access points, brought them back to a switch, completely transformed the internet in the house. So it was
which is great because we had 3 students.
Yeah.
At the house, like doing online class, plus work.
Yeah. No,
it was a lot.
It was ridiculous. So anyway, so it's been better since then.
Yeah, mostly.
And also, we could pull like a 20 shot of Cat 6 through those things. I mean, it's a 2-inch pipe. Like we could wire the hell out of this place.
But we're not going to.
We're not going to.
Okay.
There's a cable running across the floor and out the door here. Actually, as it turns out, that's how far I didn't get in this project. But
that's okay.
Anyway, your turn.
No, that was mine. Oh,
was not.
That was not my turn. It is now my turn. Okay, another one from the peanut gallery, as it were. Pineapple or no pineapple?
That's
on your pizza.
Yeah, I mean,
I know it's a soft one, but we're giving it to you anyway. Because I mean,
I don't like cooked fruit as a general rule. So like pies aren't my thing. Pineapple on pizza, not my thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with like just moisture content. Because I also struggle with like veggie lasagna and things like that. And even zoodles. They just get mushy.
Which are zucchini noodles for people who don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a brand name unless the Zucchini Farmers of America have trademarked it. I don't know. But I, in general, like I struggle a lot with like warm, squishy vegetable and fruit matter. Like I'm not okay with it at all.
I like pineapple on pizza. It's not like my favorite pizza, but I have no problems with it.
So, and it turns out I also don't like mushrooms on pizza, but the family does as well. So when we order pizza, there's always a Hawaiian and there's always a mushroom and there's whatever the hell Bruce wanted to order.
Meat lovers.
Yeah. Almost invariably. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But then like it's everybody's covered, right? Like you've got. I'm not going to ask if anything's a sandwich. It's okay.
No. That's very like COVID. Like, is a hot dog a sandwich or whatever. Yeah. And no, it's extremely neat.
Taco a sandwich. I forget what the question actually was.
Colors the dress. I mean, all these things are just throwbacks to a bygone era, as it were. So I think we only have a time for a couple more questions, and we chat about what we're going to do next week.
Okay, you go. And then I have more.
Soft white or daylight?
Oh, I think it depends, but I think I tend to be more of a soft white.
I'm often struck when we're in a place where there's a combination where I think whoever owns the venue or the house or whatever doesn't pay attention, and you've got like half of a room in soft white and half of it in cool or daylight or something like that.
I definitely don't like cool.
I'm like, does this not drive you insane? Because it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm pretty chill about a lot of that stuff, but like when like there's 2 different color temperatures and light in a room, like it can drive me a little insane. So.
I don't like it when things tend way too blue. I really am annoyed by that.
Yeah. No, I am as well. And I think it's more common now, especially with the advent of LED lights and other weird LED things, that the white LED light can be very, very bright blue, daylighty, kind of whatever. And it's a little hard because it's funny because even on the ones that you can adjust, when you go to soft white, a lot of them just go to like orange. I'm like, that's not quite what we're looking for. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah, we were actually oddly, since I don't actually wear makeup, we were looking at makeup mirrors the other day and exploring the we were looking at them actually because I can't see without my glasses. So wasn't necessarily for makeup application per se, but because I need
yeah.
to be able to see my face sometimes. And we got into this whole conversation about not only the mirror itself and the curvature of the marriage. Apparently our marriage has curvature. Mirror, right?
Yeah.
But also the lighting of the mirror and the effects that that has. And some of the mirrors we were looking at were like pretty blue, pretty orange.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah,
To
not.
mimic, I don't know what light conditions, but some heavy light conditions apparently. Because a lot of those mirrors will have several different, lighting situations along the way. But I was pretty floored by some of the things you were finding.
There's some pretty bad ones. Pretty bad ones. Also, I had a mirror in my room as a kid that was an in-demand mirror.
Which one?
Big full-length one.
In your bedroom?
Yep. Once a year, it got stolen to go.
Because it was a pretty mirror.
Yeah, so we used to run.
The mirror itself was not pretty.
No,
but it made you look good.
It made you look good. So we used to run. I skied a lot as a kid, and there was a ski area like literally just down the street from where I grew up, and there was a ski club, just like a social club. People hung out and skied and drank beer and whatever. But then there was also the race team, and we needed money to fund the race team and the ski club each year. So we'd run a ski swap where people would drop off their skis and boots and poles that they weren't using anymore. And then they'd either just donate them to us or they'd split the proceeds, as like a, whatever they, consignment kind of situation.
Just call it profit sharing. It's
yeah.
Fine.
And so there were a lot of old ski clothes. And so they needed a mirror to be able to like let people try on ski clothes, jackets, whatever, and see how they looked. Well, the mirror that was in my room for some reason was like a funhouse mirror and made you look very thin. And so if you stood in front of it, you would lose like 10 to 15% of your body mass because it would stretch you out like a funhouse mirror. But it was subtle enough that you didn't necessarily key into it.
So it probably wasn't 10 to 15%. It was probably more like 2 to 3, but it was enough.
It was enough. It was literally enough that one year they actually used a different mirror and people were like, what's wrong with this mirror? And then they realized, oh, we need the other one. And so it was like nails at the back of my door. And so once a year, pull the nails out, pull the mirror out, take it to the place we do the swap and put it on the wall. And then they bring it home and be like, here's your mirror back. Thanks.
Well, it's funny because remember, we have a local store that I won't try clothes on at it precisely for that reason. Because I'm like, no, I know this mirror is lying to me.
Yeah.
So I'll just buy clothes and take them home and then take them back because it lies. Yeah. It's Bruce's pretty mirror. Right? Exactly.
We covered a lot of ground.
We do. I mean, this is who we are. Do you want to do one more?
Sure, we can do one more.
All right. Early detection or rapid response. Which matters more?
They're okay. All right. I was like, they're not mutually exclusive.
They are not.
Early detection, I think. I'd rather know and fumble my way around than be able to respond very quickly once I find out. So
I'd rather know my house is on fire rather than or know
it's
about to be on fire.
Develop a strategy on the fly is a valid way to do it, but after the house is already burned down and running up to it with a bucket of water really fast won't do you any good. So I like that. That's good. That's a good analogy.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
Cool. Well, that was a thing. It was good times. So next,
do you feel like you know me better?
No. Pretty much think we could have answered each other's pretty well.
I think so.
So next week we're gonna have some guests.
We are.
Yes. Because.
Oh yeah. Yes, next week. Next week, we are having a Turngate executive on-site, off-site. I'm never sure what to call it when you're a fully remote company and you get together.
Yeah.
We're having a thing.
Getting together.
We're having a getting together. Yeah. So for our weekly stream, we will have more more of us.
Yeah, we get to meet a few more of the team.
Right.
And then in a few months, we're going to do at least a virtual all hands as a company, and maybe we'll just drag everybody along, and
It'll
we'll
be
do
like
a
the Brady
big,
Bunch opening.
yeah, we'll have a big Brady Bunch
Yeah, we'll do
thing.
something.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be fun. But yeah, so next week we're gonna tag in a few more folks. We'll think of something fun to talk about. Um,
Maybe we'll talk about the new UI we developed.
yeah, maybe we'll do a demo. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out soon because we are not so far advanced in this streaming process that we are planning this out much more than a week in advance. So,
No, this one got planned at least 20 hours in advance. So
it did.
Yeah.
It did. And we'll endeavor to keep at least that pace
At
going.
least 20 hours in advance. And I'll schedule it on the right account going
Yeah,
forward.
that'd be great. There are at least one other. I wanted to talk about the upcoming event that I listed in here, and I don't know too much about it, so I just want to caveat that sometimes when we talk about these upcoming events, it's not always that we've been there, but we are showcasing them for either just to put them out there, or if people know about them, they can give us some feedback about the events, right? So the one I found was Minorities in Cybersecurity Annual Conference. This is taking place in Texas, which I think is great. And they are focusing on providing a place for women in cybersecurity and those who identify as non-binary and kind of underrepresented folks in cybersecurity to come together. Looking at the tracks, I took a look earlier today. It appears to be more kind of career starter or career advancement type kind of stuff. But I think it's great that especially in today's environment, that we're still seeing things like this
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So
And I think they're involved with the pass the mic in cyber thing too, where people, especially with large follower counts on social media, will highlight minorities and other kind of disadvantaged groups in their feeds and try to boost up and allow other people an opportunity to talk in their stead. And so I think minorities in cyber has been a part of the pass the mic in cyber thing.
So, and I think this is actually, I think this is only their third in-person conference, I believe. It's still relatively early for the conference, but anyway, like I said, not something I've attended, but
well, it's literally next week.
Yeah. And I think registration, there might still be spots, but
Cool.
Be curious to know more about it if anybody knows anything about it.
Ends up in Dallas.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
I don't think I have any. Well, I might have one more question for you.
Uh-oh. I'm going to close on that question.
I know the answer to this question.
Okay.
You want a fun one or a serious one?
Whatever you think is the best way to end this show.
All right, subtitles.
Oh.
On or off?
I think on. I think that I get really confused about the subtitle shade that gets thrown of like, why do you need subtitles? I'm like, we don't consume media the way we used to anymore, right? Like, it's not like, I mean, we used to have like, you set up your whole home theater and all this kind of stuff. And now everyone's like, you got 100 things going on, it's you just need to be able to read if you're not, if you can't hear it because the kids are talking or whatever. Like, I think subtitles is just a wonderful addition to any media. I think it's great. I'm subtitles on.
Yeah, I love subtitles.
Yeah.
And we should probably eventually get them attached to our streams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should.
That's right.
Maybe even have them say the right things. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny when they don't. But,
yeah.
But it's inaccurate, so.
Yeah, so it's funny because we use oh crap, not Loom. What was the name of it?
Loom. Oh, Komodo.
Komodo for like video production, and like if we have to, especially internally, as we're like taking videos of how the product is working under development and stuff, and then we use Komodo to do that. Komodo's default language is Indonesian, apparently, at least for our instance. And if you don't talk and all it does is get like button clicks and stuff, it divines Indonesian out of it. And so we get like where it gives little chapter sections, and they're all chapters in just random Indonesian thing. I guess when it jacks the gain way up and then tries to divine words out of it. And so it doesn't divine English words, it divines Indonesian words, which was really confusing the first time. But after like 20 times, I've just accepted that we get silent movies with Indonesian subtitles.
I'm curious if there's a setting for that.
There might be. I'm a character enough to look, and I just find it really amusing. So, yeah.
On that note.
All right. Well, that was fun. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week with a few more people as guests. So until then, take care.
Bye.